Hi, this is Angela Skirtu with St. Louis Marriage Therapy, and you can find me at www.therapistsinstlouis.com. Today, I want to talk to you about one way to practice self-compassion. And to be fair, this is very much for people who are high-functioning individuals. So what do I mean by a high-functioning individual type? So these are the people that take a lot of responsibility in their lives, that are often feel like they do more of the work in many of their relationships, and in their jobs, right? It's very high functioning people that take on a lot. So one practice for self-compassion in this situation is to ask yourself two questions. The first question is, what am I taking responsibility for that's not mine? That's not my responsibility. That's the first question. And the second question is, what am I blaming myself for that's not my fault? Okay, I want you to sit on those, but let me go into detail. So back to the first question. What am I taking responsibility for that's not my responsibility? So my high functioning types, the hard thing is I have to convince you that you're taking on too much responsibility, or but you don't know how to shift it. And so this question is meant to be a type of mantra, a thing to tell yourself, to remind yourself, like, what are you taking on that you shouldn't be, or you don't need to right now? And actually, I need to avoid the word should because it makes everybody think of shame, and we all know that's not a great situation. But coming back around, there are things you're responsible for and there are things that you aren't. But high functioning types tend to take responsibility for everything. They take responsibility for other people's emotions. They take responsibility for example, when your kid cries, I'm responsible. I did something. I wasn't good enough as a parent to take care of my kid in this moment. What are you taking responsibility for that's not yours? So I'll tell you a story. I had a situation where I took my daughter out to the Chesterfield. So for those of you who live in St. Louis, I go to the Chesterfield concert series on Tuesday nights. And every time I take her, I get her a balloon and her face painted because it's free. It's part of the experience. And every time she gets one of these balloons, and they're wonderful balloons, by the way, just adorable, the guy puts these beautiful little animals together, and she sees it, it's this magnificent piece of art, essentially, and she wants it to last forever. And so when I see that, the part that I feel responsible for is, hey, I did this thing, I made this choice, I helped her to feel happy. But guess what happens when I take responsibility for that? I also take responsibility for when I think I'm making her sad. And here's the example of that. So every time she gets this balloon, it pops. Every time. In the next hour, that same day, because of course it's been whittled into this beautiful masterpiece, and she's 6. She's a 6-year-old. She doesn't understand you're not supposed to put it on the grass. Or that it's a balloon and balloons pop, right? So every time she gets a balloon that pops at some point, and guess what happens? All you moms and dads know. She is just in this whole world of chaos, and I'm like, why? And guess where I'm taking my responsibility that I should have. I can't control that balloon. I can't control her tears. It's not my responsibility. So what does that mean? In my case, it meant that I needed to let her feel her feelings and work her own way out of that. Now, did I talk to her? Yeah. Did I support her through that sadness? Yeah. But the difference between me taking responsibility for it and her is 2 weeks ago, I would have seen that experience and I would have been like, oh, why do I even do this? I tried to do this special thing and she doesn't get out of it what I want her to get out of it. So that's me taking responsibility for all of her emotions. Whether she feels happy, whether she feels sad, it's my fault and it's my responsibility. Think about how lopsided that is, right? It's not my responsibility for her emotional expression. It's hers. She's a kid. She's going to cry when a balloon pops. So think of the question in that story, the two actually. First one is, what am I taking responsibility for that is not mine? Her feelings are not my feelings, they're hers. It's okay for her to cry when a balloon pops. It's okay for me to want her to be happy, but I can't make my kid happy. She needs to ride through the feeling of sadness, make her way through it. I can support her and talk to her about it, but ultimately she needs to work through her own sadness around that balloon. And then when she's ready, she can come dance with me at the concert. And that's what I told her. I had to give her space. I had to tell myself it's okay to give her that space. But before, when I was taking that responsibility, it's all my fault, Guess what I'm doing? I'm like, I gotta fix this. I gotta make her happy. How do I make this better? So think about that in terms of emotional responsibility. So that's just one of my stories, and you may not have the same story, I understand. But I'm asking you to think about that. What am I taking responsibility for that's really not mine? And then the second question, same story. What am I blaming myself for? That's not my fault. Well, guess what I was blaming myself for, right? The balloon popped. I shouldn't have taken her. I shouldn't have gotten her a balloon. If I just didn't get her a balloon, it wouldn't have popped. She wouldn't have cried. This is all my fault. It's not my fault that a balloon pops. It's not your fault if a balloon pops in your world. Sometimes balloons pop. So I know this is a long story, but I'm asking you to think about that in your life. In what ways do you take responsibility for things that aren't your responsibility? And in what ways do you blame yourself for things that aren't your fault? And that one step can help you in being more compassionate towards yourself. This is Angela Skartu, and you can find me at www.therapistinstlouis.com. Thank you very much.